Lời đầu tiên xin chào các độc giả đã đến với website rèn luyện kỹ năng.com. Khi tìm đến với website rèn luyện kỹ năng, chắc hẳn bạn đang mong muốn tìm cho mình một công cụ tốt nhất trong quá trình rèn luyện kỹ năng. Kỹ năng ở đây có thể là kỹ năng lãnh đạo, kỹ năng bán hàng, kỹ năng mềm, kỹ năng sống và rất nhiều các kỹ năng khác. Thông thường khi nghĩ đến việc rèn luyện các kỹ năng như chúng tôi đã đề cập ở trên, chúng ta thường hay nghĩ đến việc tìm mua cái đầu sách hoặc tham gia các chương trình hội thảo. Nhưng trong cuộc sống bận rộn của thế kỷ 21, thời gian và tiền bạc là hai thứ luôn bị giới hạn nhiều nhất. Với sự ra đời của website rèn luyện kỹ năng.com, chúng tôi mang đến cho bạn một công cụ tốt hơn trong việc rèn luyện kỹ năng của mình, đó chính là các DVD rèn luyện kỹ năng. Bạn sẽ không còn phải tốn quá nhiều thời gian để đọc sách hay tốn quá nhiều tài chính để tham gia các chương trình hội thảo. Chỉ cần bỏ DVD vào đầu máy, ngay lập tức bạn đã có thể tận hưởng những thước phim quý giá được chia sẻ từ các diễn giả nổi tiếng tại Việt Nam và trên thế giới. Website rèn luyện kỹ năng.com cung cấp đầy đủ cho bạn các DVD rèn luyện kỹ năng trên nhiều lĩnh vực. Tất cả các DVD rèn luyện kỹ năng của các diễn giả nước ngoài có tại website rèn luyện kỹ năng.com đều có phụ đề 100% hỗ trợ tối đa cho quý độc giả khi theo dõi. Rèn luyện kỹ năng.com cam kết chất lượng tất cả các DVD khi cung cấp cho quý khách hàng. Với hân hạnh được phục vụ cho rất nhiều các khách hàng trên cả nước. Chỉ cần click đặt hàng, trong vòng 1 đến 3 ngày, bạn đã có thể cầm sản phẩm trong tay. Rèn luyện kỹ năng hân hạnh được phục vụ quý khách.
You're about to see Richard Bandler demonstrate how he performs rapid hypnotic inductions. Dr. Bandler eloquently displays his talent for making the various complexities of his communication skills seem effortless in this remarkable demonstration.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Chaos Land. Today we're going to do a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to do is to give you a little bit of history. When I started doing hypnosis, it was primarily at the request of Gregory Bateson, who is what I consider to be one of the great English communicators. Gregory founded the field of heuristics probably some 50 years ago. When I met Gregory because he moved across the driveway from me, and Gregory looked at the work that I was doing, and he said, you know, you really should study hypnosis, especially Milton H. Erickson. And I'd read some books on hypnosis. I was hypnotized when I was 7 years old by a magician, and I liked it. It was fine, but I started telling people, well, I was going to study hypnosis. I bought lots of books about it. And one of the things that happened was that I noticed there was an odd response. Most of the psychotherapists said to me, oh, you don't want to study hypnosis. It's bad. And it doesn't exist. Which is kind of a weird combination. Now that made me really interested. When I thought about doing hypnosis, I thought, you know, well, here's something that really frightens psychotherapists. I should learn it. I also found that hypnotists had a slightly better attitude. And I know some of you were a little upset because I pick on psychologists, but you guys like pain. Also, since the beginning of my career, one of the things I've tried to do is to get people out of the domain of looking at people as if there's something wrong with them. When I started out, it was because I went into horrible mental hospitals. And mental hospitals used to be really evil compared to what they are now. They used to be terrible, dingy little places with metal bars and little contraptions that looked like they came out of Boris Karloff movies, where they tortured people. They shoved electric juice through their heads. They gave them horrible drugs. And they were absolutely certain that schizophrenics couldn't be hypnotized. In fact, they spent millions and millions of dollars at Stanford proving that only a certain percentage of the population could be hypnotized. Now, there were some innovative people. There was a guy named Spiegel, and he was one of the first people to formalize rapid hypnotic inductions. He had people roll their eyes back in their head and then close their eyes, and did it to measure who was hypnotizable and who wasn't. The further you could roll your eyes back in your head, the deeper you could go, according to him. I took somebody who scored a 0 on the Spiegel test and knocked them into a deep trance and did every hypnotic phenomenon. They used to say that in order for people to be hypnotized, it took hundreds, if not thousands of hours to learn to do deep trance. These are hypnotists saying this. This isn't even psychologists. Psychologists didn't believe that hypnosis was a valuable tool. They said it only treated the symptom. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think treating the symptom is, first and foremost, one of the very important things that you do. If somebody is terrified of elevators, making it so they can get in one and go up and down is a good thing. And if it only takes a couple minutes to do it, even if it comes back later, you can do it again. That giving people freedom is what my work is about. Now, one of the freedoms that I want everybody to have has to do with your ability to learn, because Milton Erickson is the first person I ever saw do a rapid induction. And by the way, I gave Milton credit for doing the handshake interrupt. Milton was paralyzed in the right arm. That would have been impossible. I did that to see if anyone was paying attention. But what Milton actually did is he took somebody and he took a hold of their arm, he lifted it up and he looked them in the eye, and he began touching them ambiguously so that their arms sort of stayed like this. And then pretty soon, after 45 minutes, they dropped into a trance. Well, to me, I just don't think that it should take that long. And over the years, I've studied different hypnotic techniques, and I found that there are really two types of hypnotic inductions that work quickly. One has to do with catching people between programs that go on in their mind, that you do something. Milton did a hypnotic induction once where this guy, a doctor, came up out of the audience and walked up to Milton, and Milton stuck his hand up like he was going to shake it. He had to actually lift his hand, and he went like this. And the guy stuck his hand out, and Milton bent over and tied his shoe. And the guy was like this. And then Milton went, go and sit in the chair and drop into trance. Well, that was really the first handshake interrupt. Now, for me, over the years, one of the things that I've tried to do is to find ways of making it so that people can go into trance rapidly, quickly, and easily. So I've taken these kinds of techniques. Now, the other category, which you'll see today, is there's a lot of hypnotic techniques that have to do with fixating your gaze and your concentration. Hypnosis is not a state. A lot of people think if you go into a trance, you can't see and you can't hear. That one's called death. Okay, that's a different state. When you're dead, you won't see or hear or feel anything. Hypnosis is really a state of heightened awareness. It's a state where you go into and focus your attention more than you do normally. You actually hear better. You actually have control over your feelings. You can control your heart rate, your blood pressure. Most people can't do that in the waking state. Last year when I was in the hospital, the nurse came in every hour and checked, I guess, to see that I was alive, which is a good thing. But she put this little thing on my finger, and this little digital thing went, and it would go, you know, your heart is beating this many beats per minute. And I have to admit, I was somewhat bored, so I started putting it on my finger when she wasn't there and practicing. And then when she would come in, you know, I would go, how many beats a minute do you want my heart to beat? And she goes, well, I'm just finding out what it is doing. And I said, how about 66? And I'd stick my finger in and go, and it would be 66. And then I go, how about 82? Make it go up to 82. And then she looked at me and I said, hi. Very high. Now, controlling your neurology through yoga, through concentration, through meditation. Meditation is not different than hypnosis, except that it's less directive. That when I learned to do meditation the first time, they had us repeat this mantra over and over again. We went inside and said a Hindu word for a certain color and repeated it over and over and over again until we got so bored we drifted into an altered state. It also habituates, because by firing the same neurons over and over again, it has a tendency to alter your state. Many of you, when you were young, focused on a candle, you stared at it and went into a somewhat relaxed state. It's a trance state. It's not something that's out of the ordinary. I see it every day in the hotel when I get in the elevator. People go in and they press the button. They look at the floor thing. The elevator doors open and they start to jump out. And they go, oops, I'm not getting off here. Well, that's true. But the doors open, the command is leave. You know, that it's a program. It's like sometimes you've driven up behind somebody and the car in front of you stops. And the light changes and they don't. And that's just because they've drifted away for a moment. Having your mind wander is not out of the ordinary. Having your mind focus so intensely on something that you can begin to really relax in our modern society, I think, is a good thing. I find that if I trance people out, that a lot of the things that are difficulties. Recently, I had a guy that bit his nails down to the bone. Every single fingernail on every hand was gone. And he was, of course, I would say, a little too tense. In fact, he was way too tense. He thought every day, all day long, he would ask himself the question, am I going to die? And of course, the answer to that is yes, but not right now. But worrying about it wasn't making it so that he got anything else in life done. And, today, given the economic situation and all the chaos going on in the world, there are still more people with warm, full, and dry and a chance to enjoy freedom than there ever has been. It doesn't mean the world is perfect, and it doesn't mean that there aren't places where awful things are going on. But if we spend our time feeling bad about it rather than doing something about it, things will never get better. So one of the things in this course that I want to arm you with is the ability to get around the long conversation. The long conversation goes like this. They pull out their violins and they come in and they go, well, you see, I've been in therapy for 4 years. Let me tell you all the insight I discovered. And I always interrupt them. I go, excuse me.